Ms. Melendez. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm here to present AB 2049. As we've discussed at great length in this committee, California's transportation infrastructure is crumbling and there is not a lot of action being taken to fix it. One of the root problems, of course, as we know, is the funding mechanism. Programs like the State Highway Operation and Protection Fund, the State Transportation Improvement Program, and Trade Corridor Improvement Fund have all been starved of money for many, many years. I think we're all aware of that. The list amounts to about $60 billion in unfunded maintenance and repair. The legislation before you today, it's a simple bill, really. It's a common sense solution that provides much needed funding for these programs. This legislation would allow the voters to decide whether or not they want to continue funding high-speed rail or whether they want to reallocate the unissued bond funding to start the much needed road repairs that we've all been speaking over the past several months. I don't know about you. I think it's unacceptable that we have about $59 billion worth of deferred maintenance that we haven't even put a dent in yet. 15% of our roads are labeled as being in a distressed condition, and as the world's 7th largest economy, I think that's quite an embarrassment. AB 2049 is supported by many, many, many of my constituents and probably many of yours, a number of other groups to include the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association, the Southwest California Legislative Council, and the California Asphalt Pavement Association. With me here today, though, is David Wolf, who will testify in support of the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I encourage and I vote.
Mr. Wolf, have you checked your Fitbit today?
What?
Have you checked your Fitbit today?
Have I checked my Fitbit? Yeah, I'm getting plenty of good stair climbing in today, Mr. Chairman. It's good exercise. Members, David Wolf with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, thin as ever, and ask for your support vote today. Members, I'd like to take a little bit of a different approach to this high-speed rail bill as opposed to some of the other ones that I testified on earlier today, because I work for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and we hate being negative. So a little bit different approach here today, members. I want to talk about transportation alternatives. Okay? Multiple sources have indicated that the current transportation backlog over the next 10 years is estimated to be about $58 billion. Everyone has said it's impossible to eliminate this backlog without raising taxes. But you know what? I think it is possible. Let's just run through quickly how to do this. Okay, so repurpose high-speed rail to road transportation and funding, which this bill does, is $8 billion. Designate another $2 billion a year out of cap-and-trade funding as opposed to the $500 million that we're allocating now. You're up to $10 billion, $18 billion total. Right now we have $2 billion a year out of the general fund budget going to road maintenance and repair, but we spend $10 billion a year on transportation. So only 20% of the money that we spend out of the general fund goes to road maintenance and repair. Why don't we bump that up to $3 billion a year for 10 years? You're up to $30 billion. And repurposing the truck weight fees gets you another $1 billion a year, or $10 billion over 10 years. And lo and behold, members, now granted, some of this would require voter approval, including the truck weight fees, but you're up to $58 billion right there with what I just laid out. So again, members, it is possible to eliminate this deficit, and I would simply say in closing, read my lips, no new taxes. Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in support of the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Mr. Dunn, have you checked your Fitbit? And I believe this is number...
We're up to 11, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for the confirmation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here again on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Been here once today already to talk to many of you about why we oppose bills that take money away from the high-speed rail project. I'm not going to repeat myself. Suffice to say that this project is started. People are working. people are going to work in one of the poorest places in the state, it is going to lead to tremendous change in their lives, especially when you get the valley to the valley segment created. They're going to be able to live affordably in the Central Valley and move across to go to work in the Silicon Valley. We need a global, broad transportation funding fix, something that the chairman has been working on diligently, taking money away from a project that is desperately needed as we move forward over the next few decades and population increases occur. Taking money away from that project that is desperately needed is short-sighted. For those reasons, we're here in opposition to the bill.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith Dunn on behalf of the Association for California High-Speed Trains. At this point in the evening, I'm not going to argue with Mr. Wolf's math. What I will say is I concur that we have great need. We have great need on our roads. We have great needs in our skies. We have great needs on our rail. The voters of California passed the high-speed rail bond and have rejected twice efforts to pull that off. We look forward to supporting the chairman in his efforts and your efforts to find a path to provide the funding that we do need as we move forward to improve our roads. Unfortunately, this bill is not the way to proceed. We'd ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the committee that would like to ask questions of the author? Seeing none, Ms. Melendez, would you like to close?
I would love to close, Mr. Chairman. I wholeheartedly disagree with the witnesses who came forward to testify in opposition to my bill that it wouldn't help the situation at all. Frankly, I think it would help the situation immediately. We have had many a conversation about the funding needs that we have in this state. We've had hearings, we've had special hearings, we've had hearings all over Southern California, and what we've heard is that we have roads, highways, freeways that need to be repaired now and expanded now. And that's something that would have a positive effect on the lives of every Californian, not just those who might choose to take this train from point A to point B, which will happen I don't even know when. And I just, to be fair, I am not opposed to mass transit. I used mass transit pretty much the entire time I lived overseas. It's great. But California has some infrastructure needs that we need to resolve right now. And people are getting tired of waiting. They keep hearing about this train that doesn't exist. And meanwhile, they're driving across some roads, which feels like you're riding across the prairie in a covered wagon. That's how bad the roads are. They're getting tired of it, and so am I. So with that, I know you'll agree with me, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Melendez. We do have a first from Mr. Mathis and a second from Member Kim. And I'll have to, Ms. Melendez, unfortunately, I won't be supporting your bill today.
You're not?
Shocker, huh? But I would highly suggest that you do tour the facility and see what is actually happening, because it's coming, and they are building, and they are working. And there were obstacles, unfortunate obstacles, that really were unfortunate to the start of this project. It was, and I do need to clear something up. I said in an earlier on an earlier bill that there's no international airport. There is one in Fresno, but it isn't conducive to a lot of the uses of the people in the valley, or even attainable. With that, as you know, we heard two other similar proposals today, and I share your commitment to finding a solution. This is what I've done. This is why I've traveled up and down the state for the last 8 months, working towards a solution and listening to stakeholders, and admire you serving on the special session conference committee. And I appreciate your work there. But there is this dire need for maintenance. The backlog, as we continue to work a funding package, we will consider all the options, but again, not today on this solution. And for these reasons, I'll be voting no on your bill. But I look forward to working with you on a solution going forward. I'm not going to give up, and neither will you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
The motion is due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier?
No.
Frazier, no. Linder? Baker? Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom? Bloom, no. Brown? Chu? Chu, no. Daly? Daly, no. Dodd? Dodd, no. Eduardo Garcia? Gomez? Kim? Kim, aye. Mathis? Mathis, aye. Medina? Melendez?
Aye.
Melendez, aye. Nazarian? Nazarian, no. O'Donnell? O'Donnell, no.
Ms. Melendez has 4 votes. We'll keep the roll open for the absent members. Thank you. Thank you for your passion. Now we'll move on to Assembly Member Chu, Assembly Bill 2322. Mr. Chu, when you do finish your opening comments, I would really appreciate that you introduce your witness.
Thank you very much. I just going to do that. First of all, I wanted to thank the committee chair first and the members, and also thank Ms. Reynolds. She's a Girl Scout and a student at McCloskey High School who come to me with this idea as her Girl Scout Gold Award project. I'm very honored to make her idea into a bill, and I wanted to thank her for taking her patient and her father sitting in the back for waiting, a good 4 or 5 hours.
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Oh, thank you very much. And let me just start out with one sentence about the 2322, which is a measure that would require the DMV to provide a recipient of an instruction driver permit with a removable and transferable decal read student drivers like the one that we're passing out. And the holder of this instruction permit will affix the decal to the rear window when operating the vehicle. And I will let Mr. Reynolds to take it over from here.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Lena Reynolds, and I would like to tell you a little bit about how I came up with the idea and have been involved in AB 2322. I'm 17 years old, and I got my permit when I was 15 and a half, like most teenagers. And when I was getting my permit, I struggled going on the roads, on surface streets and on highways. It was difficult. People were cutting off, swerving into lanes, doing general things that drivers do when they're experienced. And not having very much experience, I didn't really know how to deal with these distractions, and ended up going out with my parents, and like many of my friends and people who I've spoke to, they ended up almost getting into an accident. So I did a little bit of research and found out that thousands of teens die in crashes every year. And we can assume that many of these are involved in crashes from children who have permits. These people are very inexperienced, and people on the road don't understand that they are there. So I decided to take the matter into my own hands and made cardboard decals for my car. They said student driver on them clearly, and I put them in the windows. And it ended up being a huge success. Lots and lots of people gave me more deference on the road. They stopped earlier to avoid me. They let me in on the highway, and it was great. So I decided to turn it into my Girl Scout Gold Award, which is the highest award that a Girl Scout can earn. I received lots of sponsorship, a scholarship from the Sacramento Ad Club to create these decals that you have, and also a Girl Scout grant for my Gold Award. They are removable and can be placed on multiple cars and taken off and put back on. I've worked with Impact Teen drivers to distribute decals to school, and I also created a lot of surveys which students took, and we came back with a lot of great responses. I created a website to help distribute the decals and teach about safe driving, and gained amazing experience spending time at the Capitol, shopping the bill idea, and trying to make my idea into reality. I'm very, very grateful to Assemblymember Chu for picking up and introducing AB 2322 and for sharing my passion for safety on California's roads. Lastly, I urge your support of AB 2322, and I hope that together we can make California's roads safer for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the public that would like to continue to support the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the committee that have questions of the author? Mr. Chu, would you like to close?
Thank you very much. Like I say, I'm very honored to help Ms. Reynolds to make her idea into a bill. And I vote here will make her idea closer to reality. So I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. And I will be supporting your bill today.
Thank you.
I commend the bill's proponents, the sponsor, for bringing us this innovative approach to improving safety for our youngest, most experienced drivers. I just traveled down to Southern California last week about the graduated driver's license program, and it's called Lifesavers. And anything that we can do to promote awareness for student drivers and take a little bit of the edge off or the anxiety that they have that other people know also that they're in the they're in their area. I would encourage you to consider giving the bill more teeth as it moves through the legislative process so that we can have greater confidence in the safety benefits this bill realize. And I know as a member of my Transportation Committee staff, Victoria, who brought this forward, whose wonderful daughter who conceived this idea, I want to thank the apple doesn't fall far from the tree from the father and the mother going forward. And I appreciate you being engaged at such a young life. Mr. Chu, I'd really appreciate it if you could add me on as a co-author. As you know,
Great.
Safety for teenagers is paramount to me. Madam Secretary,
It's an
please call the
honor.
roll.
Thank you.
Oh, housekeeping. With the motion, we have Mr. Daly as the first and Mr. Mathis as the second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll, and thank you, Mr. Chu.
The motion is due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Linder? Baker? Aye. Baker? Baker, aye. Bloom? Brown? Bloom, aye. Brown? Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Daly? Daly, aye. Dodd? Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia? Gomez? Kim? Mathis? Mathis, aye. Medina? Medina, aye. Melendez? Melendez, aye. Nazarian? Nazarian, aye. O'Donnell? O'Donnell, aye.
That has 11 votes, Mr. Chu. We'll keep the roll open for absent members. Thank you again for your presentation. It was wonderful.
you.
Mr. Nazarian. Assembly Bill 2742.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues.
Assembly Bill 2742.
Colleagues, the California economy relies heavily on its transportation infrastructure, and I'm not going to belabor that point. Unfortunately, transportation is severely underfunded, lacks consistent revenue, and consequently has not kept pace with demand. Budget shortfalls and decreased gas tax revenues have led to the deterioration and unreliability of our transportation sector, put greater pressure on our deteriorated roads and highways, and has undermined our ambitious environmental and air quality objectives. P3s can be a powerful method to finance and accelerate delivery of much-needed transportation projects. Through this contractual agreement, the skills and assets of each sector are shared in delivering a service or facility for the use of the general public. AB 2742 extends the authority to use public-private partnerships agreements for transportation projects from 2017 to 2030. The extension of P3s will give California another tool in its toolbox to meet its ambitious transportation infrastructure goals and remain competitive in the global marketplace. We already have the authority to use P3s. Allowing the authority to sunset will limit our options and send the wrong message to private investments and undermine our overall goal of transportation funding. And what I'd like to also mention to all of you is I myself brought this bill forward in an attempt and hope to offer the Metropolitan Authority, Transportation Authority in my area, to be able to work on some of the projects that we've been trying to deliver for some time, but because of cost increases and the constant back and forth of economy, we have a challenge of completing some of the projects that are very important to us. And instead, we end up clogging, by not putting people in the rail system, we clog up our freeways, and we have a devastating impact on all the goods that are shipped through our ports. I mean, we talk about all these issues on a regular basis. Here is something, a modicum of a tool that I'm trying to bring forward and offer as a form of assistance to just LA County. And this is espoused opposition from organizations that I would generally be working with side by side. So it's unfortunate, but what I have committed to these very organizations and some of you in conversation as well, I'm happy to work with them. I'm happy to address some of their concerns and issues, but that I would like this bill to move forward as is and then work on some of the issues so that the intent of the bill is not chipped in every stage of the process. So with that, I have joining me Andrew Antwi. Thank you.
Please state your name and who you're representing, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Andrew Antwi with Shaw Yoder Antwi here today on behalf of the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority. We support Mr. Nazarian's bill today, and we thank him for introducing this bill. We worked with the author to introduce a measure in special session that would have applied to LA Metro and its authority to pursue P3s. This bill does apply statewide, and it extends the sunset date out to 2030. It's worth pointing out that this procurement approach is available today. And we're talking about preserving a tool. And we think it's worthwhile to preserve this tool as we embark on transportation financing and delivery options around the state. We haven't solved our funding problems. We have some big needs around the state. We especially have needs in LA County from projects like the Sepulveda Pass, which we'd like to pursue with P3, High Desert Corridor, and many others. As we look at available sources of transportation, even in LA County, as we're looking at potentially going to the voters to pursue additional revenue, even if the voters say yes, we're still going to need to partner with the private sector to provide financing. And so we don't want this tool taken away from the toolbox. We thank Mr. Nazarian for working to keep it available. Ask for an aye vote.
Next witness, please state your name and who you represent.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mark Watts. I have two clients I'm representing today. The Riverside County Transportation Commission is in support, as is Transportation California, a coalition of contractors and allied public sector labor, private sector labor. We're sponsors of Mr. Pereira's similar bill of last year, and we're very grateful to Mr. Nazarian for carrying this measure this year to extend this tool, as has been explained by the author and by the LA Metro representative. We've seen the marketplace freeze a bit as the sunset date is creeping up on us. We do know that there's robustness and a lot of interest in the marketplace. The Transportation Agency for Monterey County held a industry outreach for a particularly troubling and difficult project they have in mind, and they had a turn-away crowd. LA Metro recently had a very similar outreach program, and very well received. The world is waiting for California to extend this so we can get back into the business of trying to put some of these projects into the pipeline. I thank you for your attention and request your support.
Next witness, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Moira Top on behalf of the Orange County Transportation Authority in support of the measure. 2030 sounds like a long ways away, but when you're dealing with mega projects on the transportation system, 2030 is not that far away. It takes that long for our agencies to plan and get projects underway. We ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Dave Ackerman, representing the Associated General Contractors, the ones that actually build these projects under P3. We participated in P3 projects all across the nation successfully and look forward to the extension date in this legislation to work on building more transportation for California. Thank you.
Mitch Weiss with the California Transportation Commission in support of this bill.
Matt Klopfenstein on behalf of the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority in support of the bill.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in support of the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the public that would like to testify in the opposition of the author's bill? And just for the record, I want to clear up, in the analysis, it's missing one of the opposition, which would be the professional engineers in California government. It's on our worksheet, but it's not in the analysis, and I wanted to clarify that. And we will replace the analysis and fix it on the internet. So please state your name and who you represent, please. And this is in opposition to the author's bill.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Brian Allison on behalf of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. I'm not going to go into depth in terms of our concerns. My colleague, Josh Coker, will do that. I just want to state that what we're talking about right now is an imperfect tool. And it's a tool that we need to be working to refine and fully ensure that we have all of the available pieces in the toolkit to make sure that it is really in the public's interest to move into these types of agreements. But I will defer the rest of my comments to my colleague.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Joshua Golka with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. We represent thousands of public sector workers working in regional transportation agencies such as LA County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, and cities and counties throughout California who perform this work. And when we talk about public-private partnerships, we're talking about the work that will be privatized and sent to a for-profit company instead of being done by public companies. So that is what a public-private partnership does, is it shifts that work that would otherwise be done by our members to private entities. We would like to thank the committee staff for her work on clarifying some of the technical amendments that were included in the bill. Those issues have been resolved for us, so thank you for your work on that. And we agree with the author about the state of infrastructure in California and the many challenges that we face. Unfortunately, we don't agree with this proposed solution to that. As Mr. Allison stated, this is an imperfect tool. The committee analysis references the LAO report from 2012 that looked at some of the P3 projects that had been put forward and laid out some of the drawbacks to these projects. The other thing that is included in that report is an outline of some of the best practices that should be seen as part of these projects if they are to even move forward. And so what we're asking for is, as we consider anything like this, before we take votes to privatize the work of public sector workers, that we at least have the transparency, accountability, and oversight in place that the LAO referenced as part of their report on these very issues. So before we talk about keeping a tool in the toolbox, we need to make sure that that tool works the way that it's intended to work and provides the kind of oversight and accountability that Californians deserve when we're talking about investing this amount of money into these projects. Things like having a transparent process, like having a criteria to even determine which candidates for projects should be considered, a rigorous financial analysis, a thorough project approval process. So once you determine what projects might even be a good fit, how to ensure that it's really the right one, and making sure that we have expertise on the state side to evaluate these projects. In the LAO's report, they even looked at two of the projects, the Presidio Parkway.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up. There's other witnesses.
Appreciate that. And the courthouse, and determine that had these best practices be applied, that those projects probably wouldn't have been approved. And so as we move forward, we look forward to working with the committee and everyone in providing good infrastructure projects for the public. But this is not the method to do so. For those reasons, we're in opposition.
Next witness, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members. Michael Bolden on behalf of the Service Employees International Union. I won't belabor the issue because I believe Mr. Golka has covered pretty much everything that I would have stated. We've shared the exact same concerns as AFSCME. We represent a lot of the folks that they don't represent at the local government level, and in some cases represent folks in the same shop. But having said that, one of the things that has to be done is a review of the efficacy of what has been done regarding this procurement process in the past. The committee consultant did a fabulous job in the analysis, and we're looking at going back to 1989, where there are 4 projects that were authorized. In 2006, certain projects for transportation, but have these been reviewed? What is the efficacy? What have been the savings? What has been the performance of the contractor? What has been generated in terms of revenue to repay these contractors for the investment that they've had in the projects? I don't see any of that information anywhere, and if there are reports, I certainly would like to see them, because we are seeing a proliferation of these types of bills being introduced every single year. And what they are doing is going after the work that is traditionally and customarily performed by the work of my members in my union. We talk constantly in this building about creating jobs, but I heard a quote earlier by another colleague who testified on another bill. We shouldn't be robbing Peter to pay Paul, but that's what this bill does. It robs Peter in the form of jobs to give them to Paul. That's not what we should be doing in California. For those reasons, we respectfully oppose and ask for a no vote.
Thank you. Next witness, please state your name and who you represent.
Mr. Chairman, members, Ted Toppin for the Professional Engineers in California Government. I couldn't agree more in concept with my partner's testimony. Privatizing public works, privatizing public jobs is a serious matter that should be considered seriously and not taken lightly. PEG's position for some time has been an oppose unless amended position. These are state highways we're talking about. The state will be responsible for them for generations to come. They will be liable for the work. They will be liable for the maintenance, and they will be liable for the safety of the traveling public and the workers who work on them. Given that PEG's position has been at a very minimum, the state of California should be responsible for the inspection on state highway projects. That is a core inherent government function. Public entities inspect our schools, our hospitals, our homes, our bathroom remodels to make sure that they are safe and will stand the test of time. It is particularly important when taxpayer dollars are at risk and public safety is at risk. At a minimum, that is what we should be talking about as the basis for any amendments to this bill. I do also want to make it perfectly clear, this bill is not specific to Los Angeles. This is a statewide bill, and every statewide highway project in the state is eligible for it. It does not apply to transit. It applies specifically to state highway projects. And for that reason, we have an oppose unless amended position as a bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toppin. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Seeing none, we have Mr. Daly and then Mr. Dodd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Mr. Toppin's point, which is an excellent point, the state inspection of the work performed on state roads, has that amendment been considered, and might that happen at some point in this process?
It certainly will be. It's something that we've talked about briefly already. I just wanted to advance this bill. And what I mentioned to Mr. Allison and others as well was that you have my commitment to work. You know I'm going to work with you. But I do not want to start compromising and chipping the bill because that's going to happen throughout the legislative process. So I was hoping to move this forward as is and then starting to discuss the merits of different issues that we want to address in this bill, preferably in one shot.
Thank you, Mr. Nazarian. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Dodd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was going to talk about the same thing that Mr. Daly brought up to you, and I guess Mr. Antoine, maybe I guess what I'm wondering, is there an opposition? I know that Mr. Nazarian's made it clear what his position is, but from the proponents of this bill, is there a problem with that? Because it seems to me that there's a couple of things here. While I've supported this on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, a limited number of these things going forward, I think it is fair that maybe not before this bill goes through, but independent of this bill, there's got to be some review of how these projects have worked. But more specifically, on that part of it, review, public review of these P3 projects. Is that a problem?
Through the chair, Sullivan Dodd.
Please.
The LA Metro Board took a position on the bill in print, which was to extend the sunset date out to 2030. When conversations have come up before about the role of Caltrans employees and whether or not statute should prescribe, a role for inspection work on the state highway system, we've worked with Caltrans under scenarios like that under the traditional design bid build. We haven't seen language to that effect in the context of this measure. I think we support the bill, and I was sent here by the board to support the bill as it currently reads. I'd have to take that back to the board to give you an informed response on that.
Mr. Chair, one final
Please.
comment. I'll just do it now. I'm going to go along with Mr. Nazarian, but I really believe that there's some points here that are very important in terms of inspections by public entities over these projects that are public projects. And so I think that's something that we really have to be cognizant of going forward.
Mr. Bloom?
So I feel similarly to Mr. Dodd, but I come to a different conclusion, and that is I think I'm going to lay off on the bill, at least for the moment. I think that the conversations we're talking about should be taking place now. I'm not sure I understand. I respect the position that you'd like to have the conversations all at once. I'm not sure why they can't take place all at once now. Different approach, but I think there's sufficient questions here, and this is a pretty big deal because it is advancing a policy that has existed for some time. We're paused it in essence because it needs to be extended if we're going to continue with it. I do think it's the PPP process is an important tool in the tool chest, but we should be looking now to see what improvements can be made to it, what the issues are. It may be that we land on one side or another of those issues, but I think we ought to be talking about them now.
Any other questions of the committee of the author? Mr. Chu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess Mr. Bloom make a motion. I will second that. But anyway, I want to thank you for commitment to continue working with those issues that was brought up by my colleagues, and I will just lay off for now and looking forward to support the bill when we reach some kind of a further agreement. Thank you.
Any other questions of the committee of the author? Seeing none, Mr. Nazarian, would you like to close?
I've laid my case out. You've heard me. You know where I live. You know where I work. I'm committed to working on this. And the chair has my commitment, my colleagues have my commitment, and if my voters have me back, I have the potential of serving here for some time, so I don't think I'd want to do anything different than what I commit myself to. But in our process, we see that the issues we care about and work on get chipped away. And the minute you feel that you've addressed major issues in the bill and you've gotten it to a place where you feel that from this point forward, this is what you're going to be working with, I guess again, it gets chipped away even more. And so I think it was important for us to move something forward. That was the rationale. I wasn't doing something to stand up against folks that I regularly work with. So with that, I respectfully ask for an aye vote, and you have my commitment to continue working on this.
Thank you, Mr. Nazarian. So this is pretty much identical to the Perea bill last year that moved out of this committee at 15-0 vote. And it was stopped due to the opposition through the process going forward. I don't know if it was because of the unwillingness of the author to work with the opponents or not. But I know that Mr. Toppin has been the only individual who's sitting there right now in opposition who's been in my office working on transportation funding. We can go out and oppose P3s, but I would love to have you gentlemen join us in actually creating an opportunity for funding in transportation. I think that's paramount. With that, I think that we should identify, and your willingness to work with the opposition is admirable. I appreciate that. There's pros and cons to both sides, and I think compromise sometimes is the benefit of working out a solution going forward. But right now, we don't have any kind of revenue to facilitate projects in California for these individuals to work as it is now. If we do not get funding in the next cycle, we'll be laying off those individuals because there's no money for the work. With that opportunity for private investment, we may have an opportunity to put those individuals back to work in some way or portion of what this bill could do. We've seen CMGC, we've seen all other kinds of project delivery methods being tried because, again, we don't have a willingness of funding, a desperate need for transportation funding. So with that, I'm going to help the bill, as far as my vote, get out of this committee with your commitment to work with the opposition going forward. But gentlemen, I'm looking forward to, we got the MCO tax out, we got the minimum wage out. Now I'm challenging you to help me get the transportation funding out so we can put hundreds of thousands of people to work in California making labor rate. Madam Secretary, call the roll. And with that, we had a first by Assemblymember Baker and the second by, pardon me, by Mr. Mathis.
The motion is due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Linder? Baker? Baker, aye. Bloom? Brown? Chu? Chu not voting. Daly? Daly, aye. Dodd? Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia? Gomez? Kim? Kim, aye. Mathis? Mathis, aye. Medina? Medina, aye. Melendez? Nazarian? Nazarian, aye. O'Donnell?
That has 8 votes. We'll leave the roll open for absent members, and thank you, each and every one of you, and I would look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.